Hey folks, Kevin Davis at Canyon River Grill. Today I'm going to show you how to make mozzarella bocconcini. Okay, this is a fairly simple technique, but it's kind of like laying bricks. The first time you do it, maybe the first 10 times you do it, it might seem a little difficult, but you get the hang of it, you get the knack, and then once you can do it, it's really, really easy. And you're going to find if you're in a proximity to growing tomatoes, this can make your spring, summer, and fall a pleasure. So first of all, you have to have mozzarella curd. Okay, this is really important. I'm not talking about pressed mozzarella, I'm talking about fresh mozzarella curd. And that can be found a lot of times in large cities in fresh, in a high-end grocery store or perhaps a Italian specialty grocery store. You can call around and ask it. I'm sure, it's pretty easy to find in Seattle. I'm pretty sure you can find it in your hometown. So, most important thing is you want to slice your curd. You don't want to slice too much to be working with, okay? So you start out, and when you start to slice your curd, use the sharpest knife that you feel comfortable with. Typically, I use a straight edge knife. And what you want to do is when you slice it, you want to get it as thin as you can get it, okay? Because if you have big lumps in it, your mozzarella is going to make up, part of it will be melted and part of it will be over melted. So, and part of it under melted if you have big lumps. So what you want to do is have it as thin as you can get it, okay? And then when I'm making bocconcini, I don't make a lot. I just make a little bit at a time, and I want to make sure that they're perfect. So now, the second thing is that you start off with a boiling solution, and I describe it as salty as soup. So it's boiling water and salt, and it should taste a little bit, similar in salt level to soup. And then you'll make your mozzarella, and you're going to stretch it into a saline solution that I would term as salty as the sea. Okay, so I'm not going to give you exact instructions. I'll just tell you. The first solution, salty as soup. Second solution you work into is saline, and salty as sea. Okay, so there you have your thinly sliced mozzarella curd, and I have some boiling salted water, like I said, it's salty as soup. And I'm just gonna take that boiling water, and I'm gonna cover my curd just enough to melt it, okay? So, when you're working with this much curd, the trick is you don't wanna have too much, you don't wanna have too little. Too little, it won't melt properly. Too much, you're gonna be chasing your mozzarella around the bowl and a lot of it's gonna drain off, okay? Also, you don't wanna agitate your mozzarella very much at this point, because if you agitate your mozzarella, all that milky solution that washes off is actually the fat and the flavor, and so you don't wanna do that, okay? I work with gloves, okay? It's gonna be hot when I put my fingers in here, and I wanna touch and feel the curd. And when the curd gives no resistance at all, it'll just be very, very supple. You can push your finger through it and your finger goes through, straight through, then you know it's ready. You definitely don't want to overdo it in this situation. And like I said, you don't want to over manipulate it, but I'll bring it up, and if you see my fingers like that, it gives perfectly, then it's ready to go. Now, we just need to go over to the sink and evacuate the water. I guess that's a fancy way of saying pour the water out. And then I will be ready to work. So, at this point, timing is critical, okay? So, if I was doing a lot of mozzarella, it would require a little more stretching, but this small amount, you'll see that I don't like to get too fancy with it, and I don't like to play with it, okay? I'm gonna just get it to the point where I know it's ready, and I'm gonna make a hole with my finger, and I'm gonna let the mozzarella gravity stretch the mozzarella through that hole. And once I'm there, I'm in a perfect tube-like situation that I can make my bocconcini. Now, here it is. Tomato underneath, squeeze, flip into the bowl. Again, tomato underneath, squeeze, flip into the bowl, okay? And these little exotic cherry tomatoes are fine, they're fun. Now, if I took some ricotta and put the ricotta in it, then I would have burrata. Okay, I have enough curd for one more. And so when your curd starts getting too tight, that's the last you can stretch it. And like I said, this situation, I had just enough to finish out my last ball, okay? And there. It's my burrata. Okay, so at this point, you're just gonna chill your mozzarella. Typically on a larger mozzarella, you would just do about 4 minutes. And the smaller loaves like these, which we call bocconcinis, okay? Really 2 minutes in a saline solution is fine, okay? So, and I'm just gonna change my gloves here, and I'm gonna show you what happens. So, just in the interest of time, I would typically maybe let these sit in the solution for a little bit longer. But just in the interest of time, I'm going to do this now, show you how cool this is. Here's another little trick, okay? I typically would use these little sharp Dexter paring knives with a serrated edge. I use this in a lot of vegetable applications. These are the ultimate little knives for you know, turning artichokes or cutting bocconcini. And yeah, they do get dull. And then when they get dull, you just get a new one, okay? And that way you always have a nice, fresh, sharp knife. Okay, so my mozzarella bocconcini is ready in there, okay? Now, depending on which way I want to slice it, I feel the tomato in there, and I know exactly where the tomato is and which way it's going. Lead it up like this, and there you go. Little mozzarella bocconcini. Golden tomato, and so those yellow teardrops, and here is the burrata, okay? Cool. All right, and typically, you know, when they're like this, they really just don't even need anything, but you can put them with anything. They're great with just like a little bit of fresh pesto here. I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of Maldon salt, a little Maldon salt, a little fresh ground pepper. And I'm gonna transfer them over. I'm gonna put my burrata right there in the middle, and then my bocconcini around it. Drizzle of beautiful extra virgin olive oil. And then maybe just a little bit of basil. Let's see, a little basil. Yeah, let's just do this. There we go. If you want, you know, a leaf, tear a little leaf up. And if you're like me, and you love to grow tomatoes, or if you're like the rest of the world and you just love to eat tomatoes, you're gonna wanna use this dish.